The following program is a public access production. Comcast is required to provide time on this channel and make it available pursuant to franchise agreements with the communities we serve. Comcast is not affiliated with the following program or the producers of public access programming and is not responsible for the content. The following program does not reflect the opinions of Comcast or its affiliates.
Hi, I'm Jeff Cohn of Suburban Issues, and thank you very much for being with us today. As I kicked off our fourth quarter programming, I alluded to the fact that we would have the chairman of the CMAP organization, which is the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, Gerald Bennett, to come on and be with us to lay out the plan and go a little bit in greater detail about CMAP's Go to 2040 plans. And sure enough, here we have Gerald Bennett, the mayor of Palos Hills, with us today, and thank you very much for being with us today, Gerald.
Jeff, please call me Jerry.
All right, Jerry it is. You know, I interviewed Tom Garitano, and he came on and talked a lot about the Go to 2040 plan from a high-level standpoint and some of the major themes that are inside of the plan. But what I wanted to do with you today is really give our viewing audience a little bit more of a historical perspective, if you will, of why we're here, and also to share with them what you're going to do from a governance standpoint to sort of to encourage the regional cooperation that I think is a big aspect of this plan. And I'm delighted to have you with us.
Well, thanks.
Today.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to the conversation.
Good, good, good. So why don't you share, how long have you been the chairman of CMAP?
Well, Jeff, I actually have been mayor of my city, Palos Hills, for the last 30 years. Also past chairman of the Illinois Municipal League, past chairman of Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. I'm president and founder of the Southwest Conference of Mayors. I'm also chairman of the board of Southwest Central Dispatch, which is a police and fire dispatch agency. So I've been around for many years in working with mayors. Okay. And this agency was actually formed 5 years ago by an act of the General Assembly. Basically, the mayors of the region came forward and said, look, we have a planning agency that's been around for 50 years and a transportation agency that's been around for another 50 years. These two agencies need to come together, and we need to think, which many other municipalities or metropolitan areas in the country have not done, combine land planning and transportation. If the investment going forward in the future is to make better roads, well, we don't want better roads out in the middle of nowhere. We want to make sure that the plans of those communities, housing, of jobs, of public transportation is also included in land planning. Okay. So that was the concept. We went to the General Assembly, got that passed unanimously by the General Assembly 5 years ago, and we put together an organization. And today we're talking about the plan, but just a brief history.
Go ahead.
The fact that that CMAP, in being formed as it was, the most significant organization this metropolitan area has seen, probably since the plan of Chicago, Burnham's plan of 100 years ago, right. Was incredible from the start. We took literally nothing and put together an organization that's comprised of a 15-member board, 5 members from the city of Chicago, 5 members from suburban Cook County, and then the 5 counties outside of suburban area. Okay. 9 of them are mayors, so this is pretty much a local government organization. The other members are county board members, and the 5 reps from the city of Chicago are from the business community. Okay. So we had a great blend. Good. But imagine sitting down for the first time with 15 people who didn't really, I knew some of the mayors that were there, but didn't really know each other, and thrown upon us was to put together an organization of a 50-year history of 2 other organizations. It was quite a challenge. Sure. And so from right off the start, I had great hopes that the challenge of not only organizing, but then coming up with a plan in 3 years could be done, and we did it.
That is excellent, because when you think about the egos around the table and, you know, some of the interests for their own municipalities around the table,
oh, absolutely.
I'm sure there was a daunting task to get that done in 3 years. That's really a miraculous feat to get it done in 36 months. I mean, 36 months is not a long time.
Considering the political entities, Chicago, suburbs, you know, the counties against, you know, the suburbs, Chicago against the counties, you know, all that stuff was put aside. And we began our process on working on this plan.
Because one of the key things that I really like in terms of the core elements of this is the fact that our region, our economic center, is the 6th largest in the world. I mean, that has to sort of galvanize people's attention to get them focused on doing the right thing for the region.
Mm-hmm. I think in general, mayors and communities have worked together in the past, but for us to finally come together and understand that, that Palos Hills can't compete with Joliet or Schaumburg and Joliet, that we live in a great metropolitan area, and our competition should be global, if nationally, if not global, and by working together and cooperating in a manner in a future that brings us together with the same vision that we think we can accomplish that.
Yeah. So the concept of taking 284 separate municipalities located in 7 counties, that's a huge task.
It's daunting.
So how do you share with our audience? I know that one of the key concepts inside of the plan is what they call regional cooperation. And so how are you going to continue to lead the separate villages and the leaders of those towns to do what's best for the region, even during difficult economic times that we're experiencing right now?
Well, one of the organizations that I mentioned, the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, was formed by Mayor Daley almost 10 years ago. And what it did is it brought the 9 councils of government that are around the metropolitan area all under one roof, so to speak, to sit down and start beginning to talk about the future of our region. Okay. That was a great, successful concept. We have been working really over the last 10 years, but we were focused on individual things, whether it was legislative initiatives in Springfield or Washington, other cooperative things on joint services on a smaller scale. So the core was there, to build this relationship with one another. So we understood no city's an island, no county's an island. We need to depend on each other for our future.
Okay, good. So the cooperation was already there in terms of the governance need to do this and have this one voice, this shared vision going forward. People understood it, so the egos were, sort of put aside.
I think so.
Move forward.
I think so. Yes.
Good. So the major themes of the Go-To plan: livable communities, human capital, efficient governance, and regional mobility are the major themes of the plan. What role will each of the individual municipalities play individually and collectively in making the major themes happen?
I think the goals that we set out in the plan, talk about livability of each and every 284 communities and/or counties that are out there. And I think as a local mayor, we understand what we need to do to make our communities attractive. Good housing, affordable housing, good transportation if the community is large enough to improve that transportation, open lands, and to try to attract businesses to our community. So we all know individually what we need to do. I don't think there's a mayor who ever takes the oath of office and sits in it before a city council and doesn't think that, along with the city council. But again, no city's an island, and we can only do so much individually without the help and cooperation of other cities and villages. So I think in a lot of ways that selfishness is taken off the table, because if I can create jobs in Palos Hills or in Oak Lawn, which is maybe the larger town near me, or if they create jobs, it may be my residents that will be able to work in Oak Lawn. Okay. So I may not be able to attract the type of every business in the world, but I know that if I can work with and support our local community, surrounding community nearby, and that goes not only for the South or Southwest region, but for the entire metropolitan area. Okay. And the plan obviously grows and gets bigger because you're talking about interconnectability of suburb to suburb also. Yeah, good.
So you really believe that it can happen then?
It already has. Okay. Again, the 9 councils of governments that have already been out there now, we work Southwest Conference of Mayors. I'm president of that organization. Today, we work together on, again, beyond the legislative things or the governance things. We work on road projects. CMAP is still responsible as a federal MPO. All federal money coming into our region is then divided out into the 9 councils of government. So today we're responsible for all the road projects, federal road projects that go on in our region.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. All right. CMAP does.
CMAP is the MPO agency.
Right. Okay.
And from that, that money is then distributed by population through the 9 COGs that are throughout the area.
Excellent. Okay. So the COGs have some incentive then.
Oh, absolutely.
To work nicely with you all.
and it goes even beyond transportation dollars. CMAP now has been as many people should know, the day after we launched our plan, we received a grant for almost $440 or $4.3 million
Okay.
to implement this plan. So the federal government itself is taking a look at where the future investment's going to be, who's cooperating with one another,
Okay.
who's going to make this thing work. And I think to have that recognition and that money immediately the day after we launch this plan, thanks to also Senator Dick Durbin,
yeah.
I think was a significant indicator of where we're going to go in the future.
One of the key things that Mayor Daley said in the kickoff meeting, which I believe in, is the fact that education is going to play a major role in this plan in terms of workforce preparedness, and with all of the different educational assets that we have, our local and community colleges. I know that CMAP is not an educational expert, but what role do you really see in terms of how do we deploy our educational assets in this region to ensure that we're going to be preparing them for the jobs that really don't exist to a large degree? Because what we're going to do is attracting companies to create jobs that are not here in green technology and biotechnology and other areas in terms of some of the emerging technologies. What role do you see our educational assets playing?
It's a great question because it covers a couple of the 4 points that we talk about, and that's livable communities, it's talk about human capital. You know, one of the things that I pushed as chairman of this organization from the beginning is that we have a network of community colleges throughout the metropolitan region. And some of them have workforce development plans going on. Some have some type of educational things regarding new technologies.
Sure.
We need to use those junior college systems really as the centerpiece for the 9 areas throughout our metropolitan region for CMAP to work through, to reach out to the communities for job training,
yes,
for connectability with business entrepreneurs in that area. And as you build that workforce and an educated, trained workforce, the whole idea then is concept is to attract businesses then into your region,
yes,
especially obviously south or southwest. For us, it's a critical thing for us that, but you're right, it begins with education. CMAP's initial role is to educate local governments about our plan.
Yes.
That we will definitely play an educational role in that. But beyond that, use the tools that are out there. And the community college system is an excellent opportunity for us to immediately go in and kind of reorganize and rework the plans that they have, or the different concepts they have going now, or the programs they have now, and we'll work directly with them.
Okay. So CMAP is going to sort of take their curriculums, look at the future, in particular job opportunities, particularly in clusters or specializations, and see how we can sort of marry those two together, or at least help them to think about the potential of marrying curriculum with the specialization and clusters that we may be trying to attract to the region.
Absolutely. In fact, over the last couple of months prior to the launch of the plan, I've already been in contact with Moraine Valley Community College. Okay. I've met with their president and some of their deans of the various schools that they have there, and also the deans involved in workforce development and education. And they are absolutely on board with us, working with us to begin to set up programs from an educational standpoint, but also from the workforce development and how to improve the outreach that's taking place, because they can't do anything without the support of local mayors in local cities and villages. So again, that's the educational point of bringing these parties together. Yeah,
because one of the points that were made in the actual plan is that 50% of the jobs that's going to be created will require more than a high school education. Maybe not necessarily a 4-year college education, but certainly more than a 4-year high school education is going to be required for a large number of the jobs. So, I mean, I think it's very important that the coordination between, the future in terms of the types of the emerging technologies and the types of jobs that are going to be out there, and the curriculums need to happen. And I'm glad to see that CMAP is going to be playing a great role in that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you can't encourage a company to come into an industrial area like Elsip if they don't see that there's a workforce out there, that they can immediately begin to hire employees and begin to produce. So those are the 2 links that are critical in this.
Right. In the second half of our discussion, I'd like to sort of drill down now a little bit, and Tom had talked about the indicators, which excited me. I mean, I think it's great to have the 4 pillars of where we're going. But he also talked about the fact that you all are going to measure your progress and measure your success. And I wanted, if you wanted to drill down on the indicators, so people understand